Alrighty, so for today's video, we're going to talk about this incident that I have received so many comments and messages and emails about. This is an incident that happened in Columbus, Georgia, between the officers of the Columbus Police Department, also known as CPD, and the Sheriff's Department of, I think it's Muskogee County, Georgia. The reason I'm getting a lot of questions about this is because people associate me with Columbus and CPD. And they're asking me what's going on up there. Here's the thing. Columbus, Ohio and Columbus, Georgia are two very different places. I don't have a relationship with anybody in Columbus, Georgia. I don't really know a whole lot about what's going on down there. But I have seen the video that everybody's talking about, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So there's this video that came out. I don't remember the name of the news agency, but I'll put a link to the entire video down below if I remember. I'm kind of bad about that. But this was something that happened. I think it was on July 16th or so, if I'm not mistaken. It's time stamped on the video, and I'm going to play some clips throughout my explanation of what's going on here. But basically, the sheriff, I'm going to put a picture of the sheriff right up here. What is his name? I've got it pulled up on my computer. Sheriff Gregory D. Countryman. He is the sheriff of Muskogee County, Georgia, and he is a dipshit. Sheriff dipshit here. He basically, he was having a problem with there's too many criminals in his jail. So what he did was he went to the city and he told the city, because the city was doing some kind of violent crime roundup. This is where city police officers are going through their neighborhoods and they're getting rid of dangerous people, or they're at least locking them up. They had some kind of surge of enforcement activity, and this was causing this sheriff dipshit's jail to get too full. The city was taking the criminals off of the street and putting them in jail where they were belonging, and this was causing an issue for Sheriff Gregory D. Countryman, who is a dipshit. So dipshit asked the city, hey, can you stop? It's kind of funny to me. He's like, can you stop arresting the bad guys? And the city said, no, these are bad guys. We want them off of our streets and in your jail. And the sheriff, who was not very happy about this, decided to start a pissing contest between him and the city, because the sheriff does run the jail, the detention facility where criminals are taken. So he told the deputies that are working at his facility, you know what, we will take prisoners from the city, but if a sheriff's deputy shows up, he gets to cut in line automatically. And then once he's done, if there's a city car there, but then some kind of state trooper, or I don't know if they have state police in Georgia, whatever they call them, if he shows up with a prisoner, that prisoner also gets to go in front of this city officer. This is very similar to, or at least the amount of people brought into this jail, it's very similar to the jurisdiction that I work in. When I take people to jail, there's usually way more city cars there than there are cars from any other jurisdiction. We are the biggest suppliers of prisoners to that jail. I'm assuming this is something very similar down in Columbus, Georgia. So this dipshit puts out this order, and now the officers are down at the jail, and they're standing in line with all their prisoners, and deputies are showing up and cutting directly in front of them in line. The first thing that happens in this video is it's a part where a lieutenant walks out and he opens the door and he's about to let a deputy skip in front of a police officer who has a prisoner, and he's saying, you know what, don't yell, this isn't me, I'm just following orders, all that kind of stuff. Well, I have a word for you, Lieutenant, you're also a dipshit, because this is exactly the type of thing that police officers are accused of all the time. This is like one of the biggest insults that I see on my videos or slung towards me, is these morons that hate police officers, that refuse to educate themselves on what's going on. They'll say, oh, it's okay, you were just following orders, right? Like, no, don't be one of those. I'm really trying not to drop F-bombs here, but don't be one of those clowns. You're being just as bad as your dipshit sheriff. You're a lieutenant. You're the one that's probably in charge of the slating desk on your shift. I understand what your sheriff said, but there you have to draw the line somewhere. Like, you can't just be, oh, I'm just following orders. I'm going to let these city cars stack up. So I want you to be able to watch that interaction now.
All right, I'm going to file a complaint.
That's fine. That's fine. Good, how are you? Until y'all have directives, I have directives. Sheriff says ain't nobody coming in, only 5 at a time, SO and GSP has priority.
So SO has priority,
And
even
GSP
though.
and then you guys. I mean, this is beyond my control. I don't have anything, so don't yell at me. All right. As soon as that last one gets cleared, I'm gonna bring in 5.
Hey, yeah, unless another SO unit shows up.
This is not my decision.
So naturally, after the city officers watched this happen multiple times in a row, they started to get frustrated. They were tied up with these prisoners for hours. They were unable to get into the jail because the people at the jail were being children, juveniles, about what was going on. So the city officers said, you know what, if you guys want to be petty, we can be petty too. So they started to block in the cars for the sheriff's deputies, that especially the sheriff's deputies that pulled up later and got to pass in front of them in line. So they started blocking in the sheriff's deputies' cars, and that caused another confrontation, one that I actually find to be slightly hilarious, because this is one of those cases where you are accusing the city officers of doing one thing, being childish, while you're being childish. Do you not understand your own complicity in this situation? This is so freaking infuriating. It drives me nuts. So there's a deputy and his car is blocked in and he goes nuts. He's saying, you know what? I'm going to charge you with obstructing because you're not allowing me to do my job. There's calls for service. I can't respond to these calls for service. You know, you're blocking me in. This is bullshit. This is childish. This is petty. So I've got that clip. And then immediately after that, there's another clip where the dispatcher for the city comes over there and says, hey, I know everybody's tied up down there, but can anybody break free? I've got I think it was a 7511 in progress. I need somebody to respond. A 7511 for their system is a burglary in progress. So these officers are all stacked up outside the jail. Every single city officer has somebody in their car. They're unable to get into the jail because the Sheriff dipshit Gregory Countryman is having a pissing match with the chief of police, and he's not allowing the city guys to get these people out of the car. So they're all tied up with felony offenders in their vehicles, and a burglary in progress goes out. They're unable to respond because the sheriff's deputies and the sheriff of the county are being childish and they're not letting them through. Like, this is a fucking embarrassment.
Them goddamn supervisors can.
I understand. I get that.
So I can get the out the way. All right, so I got a call to go to. I can't go to the call because y'all want to play stupid ass childish game. It ain't because of me, man. I got nothing to do with that. Sarge, I got nothing to do with that in there. It ain't my goddamn call. It's between the sheriff and the guy that works over there. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Move the goddamn car, or I'm gonna move the myself.
I know most of us are kind of at a standstill. Do I have anybody on Forest Road reference to 7511?
Hey, Sarge, we got it.
We're all standing on the wall of the jail.
So then after a little while, these guys have been having this pissing contest for God knows how long. I didn't look at all the different timestamps on the videos. And the video that I saw is it's clips of a bunch of different officers' body cameras. But the same lieutenant who came out and denied an officer the opportunity to drop off his prisoner at the jail and said, hey, you know what? I'm just following orders. Don't yell at me. I'm just the messenger, blah, blah, blah. He's out on the phone. I think he's calling somebody from the city. I'm not sure who he was calling, but he's complaining. He's like, you know, we need somebody to come out here and take care of this situation because guys are talking about fighting each other, blah, blah, blah. Well, Lieutenant Dumbass, that's what your name is going to be from now on. You have the power to fix this problem. All you have to do is let a couple of city guys in, drop off their prisoners, and let them get back out on the street. They're clogging up the works because you're refusing to provide them the service that they require. The city is paying you to house prisoners in the jail. That is your purpose. That's your whole freaking purpose. And you're denying them that opportunity. Then you have some spats. I don't think I'm going to include it in this video, but the officers and the deputies start bitching at each other, saying, if I see you getting your ass beat on the side of the road, I'm just going to keep on driving, all this other kind of stuff. This is an absolute embarrassment to law enforcement. I want to take a moment just to let the sheriff's department down in Muskogee County, Georgia, I want to recognize you as a shining example of everything that is wrong with our society right now. And just when people bring up these embarrassing things about law enforcement, you guys are going to be my number one example from now on. Other than saying that this is an embarrassment, I don't know any other way of putting it. But there's a lot of stupid in the water down in Georgia. I mean, I don't get it. This sheriff out here trying to sling his dick around, trying to flex on everybody. That's petty. Find a way to make it work. Like this stuff where you have a problem with the chief, so you're going to take it out on the line officers, and then you're going to pit your line officers against the other department's line officers. No, this is embarrassing. You guys are fools. This stuff, there's no place in law enforcement for this kind of thing. You guys are all an embarrassment. I don't know. And then I'll say perhaps my favorite thing about the entire video. I'll play it here, and then once you read it, you can go and have a good day. This is going to be the end of my video. But the news agency reached out to the mayor, the sheriff, and the chief of police. I don't have the quote memorized, but it basically says that the three of them say that the city and the county and the mayor and the chief and everybody, that they all get along and they all work really well together. This is what happens when politics gets involved with law enforcement. This is a major problem in our country right now, and there's no place for it. So I think that's all I got to say about this one today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.